Hey, I'm Scotty D from Your Comedy Minute. I'm here with a wonderful comedian named Brian Blanton. Brian, thank you for being here, buddy.
Scott, thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Let's start. You're in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, I'm the biggest thing from my small town, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Mullins, South Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. The only thing we're known for is producing NFL football players and our accent.
Yeah. And you're the biggest thing from there.
I sure am. My zip code and my belt size have the same amount of digits.
I
But it's like any other southern small town. Everybody gets along basically. The stuff you see in the news about all the tensions in the South, that's all bullshit. We all love each other. We classify each other either by two ways. We're not black, we're not white, we're not colored. We're poor, and we're more poor. And I came from the more poor situation.
You're jumping ahead, Trailer Park Daddy.
I'm
I
not.
saw.
Hey, I'm not jumping
Hey,
ahead. I'm telling you my story.
okay,
That's
all right. Well, let's take it a step at a time. You're killing me. When did you start doing comedy?
the day I was born, undoubtedly. But I actually started doing it professionally and trying to make it a career about 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
and I think we covered it. You were born and raised in South Carolina.
Yes, sir. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I actually started, first time I got on stage was in Wilmington, North Carolina at Dead
Okay.
Crow Comedy Club.
Hurricane.
That
Say it
was
again. Say it again, because I want to hashtag it when we air the interview. Hurricane.
Wilmington, North
No,
Carolina.
I've been to Wilmington. I've
Oh,
been where you're at. I've been all over.
oh, true.
Yeah, no, I've been to Wilmington, North Carolina. What's the name of the club?
The Dead Crow Comedy
Okay,
Club.
that was your
It's a,
first gig ever.
that was my first gig ever. And
Okay,
I went and told a true story.
okay, go
And
ahead, go ahead.
just,
Tell it now if you want.
well, basically, well, you'll understand when we go through this conversation a little bit more. But back in 2012, I had gallbladder surgery.
Oh
That was
my,
supposed to be a 2012 gallbladder surgery, which was supposed to be the minor surgery. You go in, they
right,
poke a couple of holes in you, let some air out, take the
right.
gallbladder out. Well, mine didn't turn into that. My turned in from being turned into a major surgery and spending 6 weeks in the hospital.
Wow.
And the story came after I got home. At the time, I was married, and I was really depressed from being in the hospital. Didn't want to be out in public, which I'm a very sociable person. So
Okay.
that was really making me depressed.
All right.
And my wife at the time, she uh she convinced me into going to the grocery store one Sunday night,
All right.
and I decided to go in what I had on.
There's a joke right there, but I don't want. Didn't take a lot of coaxing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, no, yeah, that's part of the reason I went. It was the grocery store. That's
Yeah.
like my Disney
Go
World.
ahead. I'm
You know what I'm
sorry.
saying?
I'm sorry. You just set me up. I had to do it.
The sights
So
and
you
the
went to the
smells you get in
grocery
the
store
grocery
with your
store
ex-wife
with my ex-wife.
on a Sunday
Yeah,
night.
Sunday night, in the clothes you should not leave the house in. The raggiest gym shorts, no underwear on.
No underwear on.
Well, I had underwear on, but I was wearing my favorite pair, which was really no underwear. You know
Okay,
what I'm
all
saying?
right, all right. Let's move this thing along, bud.
And I was walking through the store, and I noticed my wife started walking behind me and trying to cover up as I was walking through the store, and she started pulling at the back of my shorts. Well, I looked down at the front of my shorts, and I realized, like I said, I was wearing my favorite pair of underwear. So it was just like the little bit that was poking out the bottom was all I had left. So I reached up to tuck it in, and she kept walking behind me. Well, she at one point she literally walked up on my heels. So I'm like, this is starting to aggravate me. Well, we get out the store and we get into the parking lot, and I finally realized she is red as a tomato. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? And she busted out laughing. She said, Brian, the reason I started walking behind you in the store was your nuts were hanging out the bottom of your shorts the whole time You were walking through the grocery store.
Okay.
I said, well, you couldn't have told me. She said, when I noticed that there was a group coming from church walking up, and the little boy was trying to ask his daddy what those were hanging out your shorts.
So
So,
that let's move along. That was the catalyst for you starting to do comedy.
yes. And the fact that my mother told this at Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and my great aunt pulled me to the side wanting to know if I had got it on videotape to show her friends. So I realized then you could take your real life situations, and if you think about them, they're really funny over
Sure,
anything.
sure.
And
And
then
you
you
said
learn
you've been
what
doing stand up now for 8 years?
I've been doing stand well for 8 years. I had to take about 6 months off back in 2019.
Okay.
That's where my career took a little turn. Then back then excuse me, I I suffered respiratory failure in 2019. A flu-like virus likely took me out.
Okay.
I went into hospital thinking I was going to be there for a little while, maybe a couple of days. Didn't know what was wrong with me to get tested done. I woke up in a different state 6 weeks later out of a medically induced coma. I was put on
Please.
I was put on several types of life support and only given a 3% chance to live.
Okay.
Well, going through all of that, and then
Yeah.
with the real life tragedies and
Okay.
recovery, I sort of rededicated my comedy career
Okay.
because I realized at that point there's stuff worse than death in this world.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I faced death. So why not laugh at everything else?
Okay.
So that's when I took what I was already doing and turned it up 100 degrees. I found what we call in the industry, my voice at the time, I feel.
Okay. You found your
That,
voice. Okay.
that led me to be myself on stage, that
You
let me
mentioned,
figure out what I wanted to be.
I mentioned it. Now we'll get to it because there's two things: the comedic nomad, and then just recently I started seeing the trailer park daddy.
Yeah, well, the comedic nomad is sort of like my label of, I realized when I got out of it, I'm not a traditional stand up. And what
Okay.
I mean by traditional stand up is I was trained getting into the industry. I was trained to be a traditional stand up. I
Okay.
worked with a little older generation that believes in the setup, the punchline,
Yeah.
which I'm glad I learned that, and I'm glad I actually got the privilege to come up in the comedy clubs like
Okay.
Comedy Cabana in Myrtle Beach, which has been in that Jeff and Christine have been in the industry for 30 years, running one of the top
Jeff and
clubs in,
Christine in South Carolina.
yeah, Emmanuel, run Comedy Cabana, one of the
Comedy
greatest
Cabana.
clubs you're
Okay.
ever to perform at. And that's why I cut my
I've
teeth.
actually been down. My brother used to live in Myrtle Beach.
Awesome. Well, that's why I cut my teeth at.
Okay.
That and the Carolina Comedy Club, which is no longer there. But I got introduced to a bunch of guys, and I got into my little clique, if you will. But a
Okay.
few years into stand up and recovering and everything, I realized I wanted to use this platform to not only entertain, but inspire and relate to people and let people know we all go through the same struggles. We
Yeah.
all have the same kind of family members. It's okay to sit around and laugh about it, because if you
Yeah.
don't laugh about it, you're probably going to sit around and cry about it.
Well, let's try and keep it rolling. Do you have a favorite show you've done so far? And then what I like, the least favorite show where things didn't go so good.
Actually,
Do your favorite show first.
my favorite show, well, I'll tell you my most unique show because I don't really
No,
have a
no, no.
favorite.
Why are you trying to break the damn rules? Who runs the
Okay,
show?
okay,
Scotty T
unique.
runs the show.
Okay,
Oh,
all
I'll
right,
come down
Scotty.
there to South Carolina and I'll roll you out like wholesale carpet.
And if you
I'll
come
flip you
down,
like
I'll
a
take you
cheese
out to
omelet.
barbecue.
I'll drop you like a bad transmission, buddy.
You better feel bad because somebody had to pick my ass up after that.
Those are all Jeff Altman bits. One of my favorite comedians in the whole world. Anyway,
Yes, sir.
go
Well,
ahead.
probably the most unique
I
and
wanted your
favorite.
favorite and your least favorite, but you got some kind of other thing on your mind, dude. Go ahead.
Well, no, Scott, we'll dub it double, unique and favorite.
All right.
Nudist
Just
resorts.
give me something for shit's sake. Get off of you being so sick. I'm sick of it.
Nudist resorts.
I had a guy
Yeah,
on did a nudist colony.
I did too, and they're
You did
resorts.
two of them. Or
Yes,
you did
and I
one
like the
too?
guy. I like the guy kicked out. Their resorts, not colonies. That's sort of like with them. You got to be careful because a colony is kind of an insult to them. But
Okay.
it's so awesome. It's so awesome because you go in something like that unprepared if you've ever never been, and you're kind of
Right.
excited as a man because all you're thinking about is, oh my God, I'm about to see a bunch of naked women.
Right.
Well, no disrespect to anybody at the nudist resorts, but what you see on TV is not what you get when you get there. If you want to imagine it, it's your grandma and her
No,
friends hanging
I'm
around that
good.
swimming pool.
I'm drawing a mental picture.
But that's your fault. That's not mine.
No, I got her. I got her.
But that was probably the most. I mean, and the crowd wise, the funnest crowd you've ever worked with,
Oh yeah.
because because the thing you learn about them is if you go in there open minded, they're accepting to anything.
Well, sure. They're sitting there naked.
Yeah, I mean they trust farts with no pants
Hey,
on.
I want to tell you something. I was sitting there naked. I'd be too afraid to have to try to cover up my little schmutz.
And that's what makes me
All
mad
right.
because well, that's
Give
my
me. All
favorite
right.
because
So that's your favorite. You played a nudist colony. Nudist. What do you call it?
resort.
A nudist resort. You want to give the
Yeah.
props to the nudist people. Now, my friend, give me the worst gig you've done.
For one person.
I'm praying you had some shit show. I'm praying you had some shit show.
For one person that
Wait,
decided
before you start, in 8 years, you had to at least have one shit show.
that's what I'm saying.
All right.
I've done a show for one audience member and two comics
Okay.
and got heckled by the audience member because the two other asshole comics was feeding her cracks the whole show just to do it to me. So that's a good night of hanging out with friends
What
when
was
you got two
one
professionals loading a
audience
drunk
member?
up.
One audience member.
One audience member and two comics.
Okay. And all three of them were giving you a hard time?
Well, one of them was giving me the hard time. The other two was feeding her the ammunition.
Okay. All right.
They were
Who are some
gangbanging me
comics
with
that you
heckling.
mentioned, starting early? Who are some comedians that inspired you, growing up that made you want to start doing comedy?
Definitely Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Raw. Gilbert Godfrey, because I used to
Yeah.
be the little kid.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, and I was the little kid that watched Up All Night on USA, if you remember that.
Sure I do.
I'm not a plug, just saying. Bernie Mac.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
grew up in a more urban area, so a lot of the black comics that made it.
Yeah, me
But I'm
too.
a Ralphie May fan.
Ralphie May. Sure, I remember Ralphie
Farley,
May. Yeah,
John Candy was more of an improv, but Candy.
yeah,
Just the big guys in general,
yeah,
especially the ones that were clever at it. Because growing up as a big guy, all kids get picked on and bullied,
yeah,
but being the big guy, you're number one.
yeah, yeah.
So I had to realize really at an early age that okay, these kids are picking on me, but I'm a little bit more quick witted than they are.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what it was, a defense mechanism.
I was
But I've
just you
always
took the words out of my mouth. Defense mechanism too.
but on top of that is I'm very sociable. I love being around people. People drive me. It's sort of like my passion. I find myself if I take more than a week or two
Hey,
off of
hey, am I driving you?
yeah.
I'm just
Um,
messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
I am a comic and I'm a stage where I will talk. So
You just keep her going, buddy. I'm just trying to keep this thing on the rails.
and but yeah, that's the thing. But being quick witted and I've always loved people and I've always loved entertaining and
Yeah.
I'm really I'm I try to come off as a hard ass, but I'm really very sensitive. So it's always been coping mechanism. And I grew up in a very serious family outside of my
Sorry.
walls.
I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the sensitive Trailer Park Daddy.
It is, and but
Have you?
well, that's what
Hey,
makes me Trailer Park Daddy.
hey! Now, Trailer Park Daddy, I want you to know. I just thought of this right before I started. I get ready, got my notes written down. I grew up when I was a kid and I was born. I grew up in a trailer behind the Dairy Queen. True, true story. Now, and trailer parks to me, mm, for those of you that have never been in a trailer park, I are you in a, do you live now in a trailer park?
I'm sitting in my living room in a single wide right now.
Okay, all right, okay, good. So you are a trailer park daddy for real.
Yeah, all well, yeah.
All
Part of that
right.
comes from being raised in trailer park, but
Okay.
a lot of it has to do with my influences too. As you know, if you
Sure.
will look at it, and this is brand new. The trailer park daddy is like I told you before we record, and I'll bring it up now. I'm lacking on the social media aspect because I'm a live performer.
Okay.
It's the nature of two beasts.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure
so
it is.
learning the social media's part is a little different because I want the social media aspect and I respect it and I understand that's the way to get my information out on a platform. But I also want to excite and invite people to come check me out.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to be able to quote everything I'm doing when they come see me. No disrespect to social media
No.
influencers.
What and again, you're grinding this comedy thing into a halt. We're trying to make fun here. No, but you and be serious. I'll be serious. Be serious. You're talking about the Instagram, TikTok
Yeah,
versus stand-up comedians. And I've been doing enough of these now. And I grew up on Rodney Dangerfield, Henny Youngman, one-liners, old stand-up
yeah,
comics, Johnny Carson show.
more
Um,
variety.
you know, I have lots of people been on this show that are old stand-up comics, and they don't like the Instagram, TikTok. I'm going to call it bullshit. And you have your Instagram, TikTok folks that probably don't like the stand-up comedians, those old boomers, old curmudgeons, you know. But I think, like you said, I think especially the old stand-up comedians are finding you almost have to have the Instagram, TikTok presence. You have to have so many followers. And
Well,
I
and
did
that's
notice you do have a presence. You have a YouTube channel. I know you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, right?
yeah.
So the only thing you do is just keep putting them out there and just throw it out and hopefully something sticks.
Well, and that's the thing, and the thing that's why I'm developing Trailer Park Daddy. And what I also know is being from coming from the live entertainment versus the social media aspect. As a matter of fact, I just sent an email out to somebody about this. Is if the social media influencers and actual stand-ups would realize that if they would come together, we could develop a whole new form of comedy and entertainment. Because you can take somebody that's on video very well relatable that in that minute or 5 minute video. But when you get on stage, Scott, like I know, that's a 45 minute to an hour set. You have to entertain for. So
Yeah.
if you
Well,
fly by
a lot
night,
of people are telling me though, old tried and true, like I'll mention him, Steve Goldberg. You can watch the interview. He talks about I can do an hour. Guys will ask me, the promoter, whoever, can you do an hour? And he says, you don't want me to do an hour. I can do an hour, but you only want me to do 45 minutes because more people are scrolling, more people, they don't have the attention span.
but
I actually think you have to do a half hour. I don't even think you can do 45 minutes.
the thing is, you need to be able to do it.
You better
You
be damn good.
you
You better
need to
be
be
damn
able to.
good, Brian, to hold an audience for 45 minutes.
And
I'm
but
not
see,
saying that you're not. I'm just saying,
no, I'm just saying in general, you have to have that material because in a stand-up world, you do not know what your features are going to do if you walk into it one night.
Okay.
You don't know what you got to follow. You don't know
Yeah.
what you have to dig your hole out of.
Yeah.
People seem to think headlining is the easiest part of a show
Okay. You were sure.
once you're on there because people are there to see you.
No puzzle there, brother. No
Well, I
puzzle
mean,
there.
it is, but the hardest part of a job is a feature
Okay.
because of the plain simple fact, you most in most situations I've been into, not every situation, most hosts are just moving up from guest spots.
Okay.
It's the chain of command. They're going to be like, well, you're good enough to do a guest spot. Let's see if you're good enough for me to pay you to host the show.
Okay.
Once you become a good host, you work into being a great feature
Okay.
because as a host, you have to control the flow of that show for your feature. Your feature has to have that crowd hot enough for that headliner to walk out, throw out their funniest joke, and then build up to their next funniest joke, which is the middle, and finish it off with the closer. Whether
Right.
it takes you 30 or 45 minutes to do that,
Okay.
once you're the headliner and you walk on stage, you know, you know what you're dealing with.
Well, it sounds to
But
me like you've got a pretty structured, you know, whole routine, but yet you said you do a lot of story type of material.
I do. I have stories. Like I said, that's where the comedic nomad came in. I
Yeah,
went from tradition.
why don't you enough talk. Why don't you do one of your favorite bits?
One of my favorite bits that
Sure.
I talk about, and 90% of my stuff is true. And I go back and I talk about stuff in my life. For instance, when I was married, my wife and I tried to have kids.
Okay.
We even went as far to went to one of the sperm clinics so we could figure out why we couldn't get pregnant, if you would.
Okay.
Well, we went through all the tests. I had the physical done. I had they checked me out from head to toe. They even did the little prostate check.
Okay.
Um, I know there's a joke there. Don't worry, I didn't add
I'm
one.
not I'm just
Um,
listening.
because if you heard one prostate joke, you've heard them all.
I'm
Plus, they're a pain in the ass to write, to be honest with you. Um, and well, after I got through all of this, at the end of the appointment, the nurse came in with a cup and said she needed a sample. Well, all the years I went to the doctor, when they tell you you need a sample, you got to pee on command. And I'm over 30. I can pee on command. That's no problem.
okay.
But she said, no, sir, Mr. Blanton, we don't need you to pee in this cup. We need a sperm specimen in this cup.
Right.
And I was like, you need a what? She was like, a sperm specimen. I was like, okay. How do you expect me to give you this? She said, we have a private room over here at your disposal that comes with material to help you get us that sample.
Okay.
So when I walked into the room, I walked into the room as basically a doctor's office with a couch that I would not sit on, a computer, a TV, and porn. Well, at this point in my life, I realized I had anxiety when it came to porn in public places. I have anxiety when it comes to porn, period, because I don't watch porn.
Okay.
I'm more of a Food Network kind of guy at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Okay. I'll buy
Scott,
in.
you laughing at me, but come on, brother.
No, no,
How
no.
many
I when you
how
said you
many
don't watch
orgasms
porn.
have you ever had by watching somebody flip a steak or squeeze a lemon at the right time?
I'm keeping quiet. I watch them both.
At
I
the
like to
same
watch
time, that's called a
a
threesome.
naked female chef
That would work.
cooking up some red hot loving, cooking in the oven.
That would work. But yeah, that's basically, the when you hit them with that Food Network kind of guy.
Well, when you said about the prostate jokes, when you said about you don't watch porn, yeah, there's a joke like that too. People would say they don't watch porn and motherfucking liars.
Well, that's the thing. It's not to get anybody's action. My whole point on comedy, and that's where the nomad comes in, like I told you.
Okay.
is,
Well,
I take
before you
everything.
say it, hang on, Bob. Before you say it, I had this vision of a camel, and like going around the country, like you. Sorry, sorry. You you never rode a camel?
Do I look like I've ever rode a camel?
I'm fucking with you.
I'm lucky if my girlfriend lets me get on top. Okay.
All right, all right. I'm I'm just playing. I don't
I'm a
right
pack.
now. Right now,
I'm
Brian,
a
I'm
pack
not getting
mule in
enough
the bedroom.
oxygen. Brian, right now, I'm not getting enough oxygen. I swear to you, I'm not. So the nomadic comedian is or
The comedic
comedy
nomad.
nomad, comedic nomad.
Yes, sir.
No camel. No, you just have you toured a lot? Have you been all over?
I've been the last couple of years. That's what I've done. I've sort of struck out on my own. I actually got into the booking and promoting and marketing and
Yeah,
building a show just to get out there and get different experiences because
sure.
and learn different things. I work with
Yeah,
different promoters and stuff like
good,
that because I'm
good.
one of those people. I want to be over prepared, undersell, and definitely over deliver on anything I do.
Okay.
So when you have an understanding of how everything works, you're dangerous because I've been told this because I am a comic at heart. We are lazy people when it comes to certain things. Because and, and I'm grouping myself into that because
I,
we're
I,
artists at heart.
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna argue that point. I'm a one guy, and I'm busier than a centipede at a toe counting contest. But I am
And I
lazy.
am as well.
Now that
But
you
what
think
I
about it,
mean,
I am lazy.
but when you think about it, like you'll put off stuff that you really don't
Oh
want to
yeah.
do if you get inspired, or something that you need to do, and you'll get a thought, and hours later you realize you haven't got nothing
But
accomplished.
you've been doing it 8 years? Do you also have a problem? My biggest problem is that I get stuff in my head and then I can't. In other words, I go to sleep, all is well, and then all of a sudden I wake up and I got something in my head, and I'm tossing and turning. It's in my head, and I can't. I get up sometimes and I write it down, and then something else is in my head. Do you have that problem?
I do, and my phone and recording notes is the biggest thing I do now.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, good.
I have I have a what they call a chaos notebook. It's just random
Okay,
thoughts and stuff.
yeah, good,
Makes no
good,
sense to anybody else but me.
good.
And like if I can go back, and also
I got a
if
feeling,
I
Brian. I got a feeling. I I don't want to hear some of that shit.
well, I mean, it's stuff I remember throughout because going back to where I
Yeah,
was sick in 2019, I did suffer complications from that respiratory failure and stuff. Like
yeah,
I do have some minor brain damage and some of that going on
yeah. Me
from lack of
too.
oxygen. And yeah, but yours is probably drug related now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is. I'm smoking crack light now. I started smoking crack light. The diet crack. That diet crack was aftertaste. I'm crack light.
You've probably heard this, but I miss regular crackheads now.
It's regular crackheads.
But if I could do any drug of choice right now that's on the market that I see people do for
I know it's,
recreational
it's
use,
bacon. Bacon.
but no, in all seriousness, it would be meth if I could keep my teeth.
It would be what?
Meth if I could keep my teeth. Because the dance moves those people pull off when they're high.
Oh, meth. Meth. You want
Yeah,
meth?
meth. Meth.
Meth without your teeth. You want to keep your teeth. You smoke some meth.
Yeah,
All right. All
smoke
right.
meth, but keep my teeth.
Sound like lofty goals.
Well, I aim high. I'm from the trailer park. Um, but the dance moves they do is just awesome. Like,
I recently had I better not. I had a guy like bath salts. Police knocked on my door, asked if he could stay. I told him if you have a problem, and he stayed one night, and that was the halfway house was over.
but I
My
make fun
friend,
of that.
listen, we're running a little short of time.
Okay.
So I want you to take a minute or two and tell everybody what you got coming up. Obviously, we know we want everyone to get on your socials, your Instagram, your TikTok. I know you have Facebook as well, and your YouTube. You have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, everything's
Okay.
Brian Blanton Comedy. I have a website,
Yeah, no, I'll
brianblantoncomedy.com.
put all those links in the description. Any
Yep.
shows or anything you got coming up you want to talk about?
I've actually got a couple of local shows coming up around here in the Myrtle Beach area. You can look at the schedule on any of my social media, but
Okay.
I'll be at Voodoo Brewing in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. I'm
No,
not sure the exact date. I don't have it in front of me. I
that's all right.
apologize, but it's on the website. And a couple other shows coming up. One in
Okay.
Blairsville at the end of the month. And I'm constantly booking. So if any of your fans are looking to add
Yeah,
some different to the
sure.
show, I'm more than down.
Okay. Well, we're getting to that time, and I think you know what time it is. What time is it, my friend?
Lunch,
You stupid son of a bitch. It's it's
snack,
your it's your
nap. I
comedy
don't
minute.
know.
Brian Blanton, your comedy minute. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. I'm a role player in the bedroom.
Okay.
And what that means is I sleep in there a lot by myself. And I have
Okay.
to come up with creative ways to enjoy myself. But other night, when I was having a self-love session,
Self-love session.
I was laid back, naked from the waist down, wearing a red t-shirt.
Okay.
And I realized that night I was going to role play as Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, good Lord.
And it wasn't because of the red t-shirt, strangely enough. It was because I realized how much me and Winnie the Pooh actually had in common. For instance, you've seen Winnie the Pooh
I,
all your life
I,
with no pants on and you never seen his dick. Well, I was born with no pants and often run around with no pants on, and I can't see my dick either. And I get so frustrated with trying to find the thing, I end every session with, "Oh, bother." That was a family friendly joke.
family friendly. I I I got to tell you, Brian. It was perfect. It was a perfect comedy minute. The thing that happened about halfway through, and when you watch this back, you were describing, your knuckle shuffle and your piss bump, self love session, red shorts, naked, and you started talking about Winnie the Pooh, and all I could conjure up was you. Look, I had it in my head, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I hope the people at home enjoy your comedy minute as much as I did. Naked Winnie the Pooh doing the knuckle shuffle on his piss pump.
Hell yeah, that's what's going to make me viral right there, Brian. And also,
We're gonna oh Brian, we're gonna
I've
get
never had
some
anybody
red
die. Go
shorts.
for it, Scott.
Hey, look, forget Trailer Park Daddy. We're gonna get you some red shorts, the yellow shirt. We're gonna
Red shirt. It's got to be a red shirt.
Oh yeah,
No
whatever it
pants.
is. We'll get the outfit together and we'll get you back on the show, okay?
All right, Sally. All
Hey,
right, that's a
listen.
different show. I have to charge you for that one, brother.
Hey, let me stop the recording. In all seriousness, thank you for being here. Let's catch up in a few months, whether you wear a Winnie the Pooh outfit or not. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on you, but I would like to catch up with you in a few months, okay?
Definitely, Scott. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Man, it's been my pleasure. I've had a lot of fun. Let me stop the recording, okay?
Okay, brother.
All right, man.